HR issues can kill you. One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. And you spend way too much time dealing with HR when you should be spending your time on making a profit. You should talk to Bambi. With Bambi, get access to your own dedicated US-based HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They get to know you and your business while providing HR expertise and the personal touch you need and want. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambi's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambi starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambi can take off your plate. Go to Bambi.com right now and type in Accelerate under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com. Bambi.com. Type in Accelerate.
Full send with the driver? Check. Piercing iron through the wind? Check. Low checker, high spinner, flop to a tight pin? Check, check, and check. No matter what shot you need to pull off, there's one ball that's better for them all. The all-new TP5 and 5X from TaylorMade. With a newly redesigned dimple pattern, engineered for more distance, more control around the green, and better stability in the wind, it's the hottest tour ball in golf. So no matter what shot you face, there's one ball that's better for all. The TP5 and 5X from TaylorMade.
Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth with your host, Diane Helbig. Diane is a leading small business development and leadership coach, author, and speaker who is passionate about sharing valuable ideas, tips, and techniques with business professionals worldwide. Diane brings you the world's experts and gurus in all things business. Whether it's sales, structure, social media, planning, or plateauing, guests bring their expertise and energy to each episode. When growing your business is your focus, Accelerate Your Business Growth is the show to listen to. Got a topic or guest suggestion? Let Diane know. The goal is to make sure you have the information you need to move your business forward. Thanks for joining us. Settle in and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken audio entertainment and information. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. Get a free book when you sign up for a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast continues to gain recognition as a great resource for business owners, aspiring entrepreneurs, business leaders, salespeople, and that is really because of the guests. These are folks who have expertise in particular areas of business, and they join me to have a conversation where they share that expertise with all of you. That way you can get the answers that you need and want and apply them to your business so that you can be doing better things. Today is no exception. My guest today is Rob Deptford. Rob is a video creator, presenter, and on-camera speaking coach with a background in broadcasting, marketing and communications, education management, and leadership. He helps his clients learn to use video to reach their audience and resonate, making connections, not commercials. From strategy development to teaching effective message delivery, Rob is changing the way social video marketing is done so it does a better job of building customer trust. Thanks so much for joining me today, Rob.
Well, I really appreciate the invitation, Diane. It's great to have an opportunity to chat with you.
It is great to speak with you as well. I'm wondering if we could start our conversation with you sharing with the listeners what has changed in regards to video marketing.
Well, so that could be a big question potentially, but I think a lot of us, if you're of a certain generation like I am, we grew up with this idea of video marketing really being a television commercial because that's all there was. And of course, over the years, in particular, more recently, we've had this explosion in online video, and especially with social media being really kind of an exploding business tool as well. The dynamics of video have changed. The requirements for video have changed around what is necessary in order to publish online, and in particular on social media. And people don't want to see a television commercial in their Facebook feed or their LinkedIn feed.
Yeah.
It really is different. Attention spans are short, and so we do have to be conscious of that as we're creating video for a particular target audience.
Okay, that I totally get. I'm also curious about what you think about. I'm not asking this question well, but why do you think people aren't creating and posting more video content, or why aren't more people doing it?
There's this perceived obstacle, I think. A lot of it is fear of the camera, right?
Yeah.
That's a big one for a lot of people. There is this fear that, oh, I don't have the skill set, I don't have the capability. I'm nervous about pressing the red button, essentially. Worried about how people may judge you if you happen to create and publish a video. These are things that I think probably stem from that thought of, oh, I have to create this well-produced sort of television commercial quality piece if it's going to be any good. And it's totally not the case. So getting past that fear and showing people, at least initially, that, hey, if you've got a smartphone, you're good to go. And you can hit the record button and talk about just about anything, and create some really good video content that your particular audience will appreciate.
Okay, so let's talk some about how you get over that fear. It seems to me that if people had a system, a strategy, a process, it would take some of that away, because they could go step 1, step 2, step 3. So how would you suggest people approach their video content strategy?
Getting over the fear is it's not an easy thing for a lot of people. And I often compare it to when I'm bringing on a new client. It's sort of like I'm bringing on a first-time skydiver. Right? It's somebody who sees that, hey, this would be really great to do for my business. However, it's a big leap. And so, for me, it's the opportunity to maybe do a little bit of hand-holding and provide that safe to fail environment, and say, okay, look, yeah, we're going to record some video, and yes, we've got some of this big scary equipment here, or maybe it is just a smartphone, but nonetheless, it really is just a tool to get us to that end result, which is communication with our target audience, customers, clients, whomever it might be. And so we get past that piece. We get past that we're creating video, and we start to think about it in terms of we're actually delivering a message. We're communicating. It's a conversation. And yes, it's a little bit of it really is a one-way conversation. We have to, in some ways, imagine who is on the other side of the lens. And there's some techniques we use there too. I'll tell people, imagine it's your grandmother on the other side of that camera lens. And the camera lens is really just the window to your grandmother. And that changes people's mindset.
Yeah.
Suddenly you are having that conversation, and it's a very conversational tone.
I think that's a great technique. I love that because it personalizes it, but it also narrows it, right? It's actually, it's just one person you're talking to, not a whole bunch.
Absolutely. And for people who have a fear of speaking in general, or if you're a strong introvert like I am, these are things that you may think are not characteristic of an introvert, but really it's just you and the camera. And so that pressure of being in front of a large audience just isn't there. And with some work, we get past that.
Yeah, yeah. I would think it would actually could potentially be easier than doing public speaking.
You know, it's funny. I tell people that years ago I started my career in a small padded room, in which in isolation in the radio news booth, right?
Mm, yeah.
And it was perfect.
Right.
There was nobody else but me and a microphone, and it was just amazing what I could do in that environment. And this is very much the same.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just you and the equipment.
That is really interesting. Okay. So you mentioned something earlier about equipment, and that, it really isn't as daunting. You can use your cell phone, whatever.
Yeah.
Will you talk some about, I'm going to ask you to talk about like the value of live video and the value of, for lack of a better word, produced video. Because like, I think they're both valuable, but they're different. So can you shed some light on that?
Yeah, absolutely. So produced or pre-recorded video, I think, is really how we got started in the social media space. YouTube, of course, is the biggest example of that.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people have done very well on YouTube with the pre-recorded content that they've produced. Live is a little more of a recent thing online and on social media. LinkedIn Live is relatively new. Facebook Live has been around for a little while. And the dynamics are different. So when we're pre-recording a video, yes, we're creating a message and we're trying to deliver that to our audience in a way that's going to resonate and make them feel like, hey, I trust this person. But it is a one-way conversation unless we get people to engage. And on social media, we can get into commenting and having conversations back and forth after the fact. But live is different. Live is happening now. And people are watching and listening to the conversation unfold as it happens, and oftentimes have an opportunity to jump in and ask questions, depending on the platform that you are using. The expectations, I think, for the audience are different in a live format. If you are doing a live broadcast, essentially, people are they're there because they expect that that the program is going to be there. Whereas a pre-recorded video can pop up in your feed anytime. Somebody is actually making a conscious decision to come and sit in on your live broadcast. So the dynamics are different. They're definitely, it shows a commitment, I think, if you have an audience showing up to your live feed.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. Okay. So, but that sounds to me like they're equally valuable. They're just different, and you have to have a different expectation of, as the person creating the video, of what that engagement is really going to be like.
Yeah, and they can work hand in hand. Really, we're trying to build a brand on social media, right? So if we're creating pre-recorded videos and somehow referencing that, hey, I got a live show on Tuesdays at 7 a.m., then you're driving people. That's a call to action to come and listen to me live on Tuesday at 7 a.m.
Right.
Which, I don't do that, but there are people who do.
Yeah.
And so they really can work together.
Yeah. It feels like, I don't do it either. It sort of feels like it takes more planning and marketing and structure to it.
I think so. The people I know who do it, and a couple of the live shows I've been lucky enough to be a guest on, I know that a lot of work goes into them, and it's really a full-time job to make sure
Yeah.
that guests are continually lined up and they're ready to go. And, what do you do if somebody has to back out at the last minute, right? Those are the big obstacles to have to
Right.
work with.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got a live show and no guest. No.
Yeah. Yeah, that used to happen to me. That's why I do my podcast pre-recorded now. It's one of the reasons. So I totally get it.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, I'm going to take a quick sponsor break and then we'll continue the conversation.
Sure.
Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is happy to be sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken digital audio entertainment and information. They have over 150,000 titles to choose from, and you can listen to them on any device, including whatever you're hearing us on right now. And if you sign up at our link, which is audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, you get one free audiobook and a 1-month trial of the service. Some examples of books you can listen to on audible.com are Everyone Deserves a Great Manager by Scott Miller and The Ultimate Sale by Justin Goodbread. So visit audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, explore the books that are of interest to you, and receive one free audiobook when you sign up for the trial. Today, we're speaking with Rob Deptford about building trusted connections with video content. Okay, so let's talk about, I'm trying to figure out like which question I want to ask you next. Let's talk about frequency, consistency,
Sure.
things like that people should know.
Yeah, if you're creating video content on a regular basis, any content really. So, from a content perspective on social media, consistency is really what builds a brand on social media. And it's not the same as frequency. And I have that discussion a lot with people. Well, creating video, it can be a lot of work depending on what you want to do and what kind of production level you want to have. So how do you do that on a regular basis? Well, you don't have to be doing it a lot. It's not about the volume. It's not about that frequency. It is about consistency. And so they are two different things. And by consistency, what we mean is just being in a place at the same time, right? So if it is, like we were saying earlier, a show that's at 7 a.m. Tuesday mornings, well, you've got to show up at 7 a.m. every Tuesday morning because people are going to start to expect that you will be there. And so it's no different with posting content, even pre-recorded content. If you're doing it daily, people start to see you daily in their feed. And over time, especially with video, because video really helps to make that connection. You see me, you hear me. It's what I call the 6 o'clock news anchor effect. Sometimes it's, you're in front of people every day at the same time. And over time, you start to build that trust and that credibility and believe what that person is saying to you. And so it really is about doing that, showing up on a regular basis so that people have the opportunity to feel that connection. And from a business perspective over time, that really is how relationships start to get built.
So this speaks to me about, it's like a reliability thing. They know they can rely on you because you're there when you say you're going to be there. You're there when they're expecting you to be there. You're providing them valuable information without trying to sell them anything. So that reliability builds trust.
Yeah, and let's face it, with social media these days, at the rate things are growing, if you disappear, I'm going to take a month off of my LinkedIn posting or whatever it may be. Well, somebody else is going to step up and fill that space. And so you need to be mindful of that because your consistency is what keeps you in the feed and what pays off in the long run for building your business. You hear a lot of this term about ditch the pitch these days, right?
Yeah, right.
And so inbound marketing, so to speak, has had this huge growth. and social media is a big part of that. And building a social media presence with video really helps to, again, make that connection, so that nobody has to pitch. Right? Essentially, people are coming to you because they do establish that level of credibility and trust over time of seeing you in their feed.
Got it. That makes a lot of sense to me. So if someone's thinking to themselves, okay, I hear what you're saying and it makes sense, but I barely have time to do the other things in my business, like I can't even get to social media, let alone video content. What do you say to them?
It's not that complicated. And I get it, because when I first started on social media, I wondered how I would find the time as well. And really, we're not looking to create a Super Bowl commercial here, right? We're just looking to create something that makes a connection with our particular audience. So go about your day-to-day business. We're all packing a smartphone most of these days, most of us these days. And so whatever you happen to be doing in your day-to-day business, document that, right? And when we watch television reporters out doing a story, they're documenting something that's happened. Well, that's kind of what we want to encourage people in business to do as well. You're out meeting a client, you're doing something interesting that makes for good images within your office environment. These are the kinds of things that if you take a second to press record on your smartphone, and then take 30 seconds or 60 seconds of that recording and post it on social media, those are the things that people will be interested in taking a look at.
Yeah, that's great. I'm thinking of like a video. As you were saying that, I was thinking, oh, well, here's something I could do. Now, speaking of that, I find that people really struggle with coming up with content ideas. So what advice would you give them on that score?
That's a big one, especially if you do want to be posting often. If you want to be posting daily, what makes sense? And I think that comes with practice. As you get into creating content, you start to discover that little things that you do day to day, it could be anything. It could be, you're making a sandwich for lunch, like something as simple as that. And you find ways to tie that into bigger picture messages through analogy. And there's some people, if you follow on social media, there's some people who've become very good at this. They'll tie analogies into these bigger messages that have some meaning to your business audience. And so, I'm mindful of that now myself as I go through my day-to-day work, even pouring a cup of coffee. It's like, well, I have my second cup of coffee here today, and that's what keeps me going. How would that tie into a message that my audience might appreciate? Well, maybe it's something motivational. Right? We need something that helps us get through our day. And for me, it's a second cup of coffee, but for somebody else, it may be other things. And I can then create the message and turn it into a call to action to say, hey, tell me about what motivates you. And then I get engagement in the comments.
Right. That's so interesting. Yeah. I see it. Huh. Yeah. I like that. And this is so funny because as you're talking about it, last night I was watching the news and there was this story on about customer service that blew my mind. And I kept thinking to myself, I got to write about this. But I'm having this conversation with you and I'm thinking, no, you know what? I could just turn on my phone, the camera on my phone, and I could just do a quick video about it. Yeah.
And 30 seconds, 60 seconds.
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be much. And really it shouldn't be much, because when we think about somebody scrolling through their social media feed, it's very quick. And people don't take a lot of time to sit and watch and listen to longer videos on most platforms. YouTube is an exception to that if people are looking for something specific.
Right.
But just scrolling through a feed on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever, it's better to be short. And so that's one of the things that I try to encourage people to think about as well is, if you've got 30 seconds or 60 seconds, how can you get your message across in that short period of time with as few words as possible?
Tricky.
tricky, but I mean, it can be done, right? It's a skill that can be learned.
Yeah.
And especially when you have the camera to help you, then you start thinking about, all right, well, what images are going to be supportive of my message? What body language for me makes sense to show up with presence and help to deliver this message in a way that maybe I don't have to say a whole bunch of things. Maybe I can say a few words without saying anything at all.
Okay. Now, I believe me, I love everything you're saying. I imagine there is at least one person listening thinking to themselves, okay, seriously, get it, but I don't look like my local news anchor. I don't sound like my local news anchor. Why would anyone pay attention to my content? And you would reply,
I'd say that's exactly why. Because you don't look or sound like your local news anchor, and we're looking to be relatable, right? So if we come across as sounding like announcers, to me, that's not relatable. That's not an everyday person. That's somebody doing a job that's different, right? It's not to establish connection in that particular case. We want to have a connection with real people. We want to find commonality. And so, even the example of I'm having my second cup of coffee and we're going to make a video out of that. Well, how many other people in my audience are having a second cup of coffee? And it has nothing to do with my business, right? That's the other piece of this. This is just a piece of content that resonates, that people go, oh yeah, this is interesting. And it may lead to them engaging more often and maybe starting to pay attention to what I do, and sometime down the road, perhaps being interested in what I do from a business perspective. But that's not what it's about initially. It really is about getting that audience and engaging, and being relatable, finding that common ground.
Interesting. I'm really enjoying this conversation because it's I think about conversations I had with people about video maybe 5 years ago, and it was all about the equipment that you need and the this and the that and the other thing, and it sort of felt like a big commitment, a big investment, something that the majority of people weren't really going to be able to get their arms around. And this conversation with you really brings it to, boy, this is not only doable, it's easily doable.
It really is. And listen, I have toys. Don't get me wrong. I have, being in the business, I have a green screen and I have lighting and I have microphones and I have all kinds of other toys, as I call them. But nobody needs that stuff, especially to get started, especially with the technology in today's devices, right? Smartphones, tablets. The camera quality, and the purists are still going to argue with me on this because it's not the level of a high-end camera, granted. But the camera quality still in today's smartphones is absolutely amazing compared to what it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And to get a high-resolution video with half-decent audio is an easy thing to do now. It's accessible to people. So essentially what we've done is we've taken what used to be an exclusive tool, right? Video back in the television only days was kind of exclusive to the broadcasters. And we've taken that now and we're making it available to the masses. But the masses don't know how to use it yet. So we're in this place where, okay, it's here, it's available, and it could be a tremendous tool for you. You don't have to be a broadcaster to use it, but let's break it down to the simple level of smartphone only and go from there and see what we can do for you and your business.
Yeah, it is great. This is really great. So, Rob, I really appreciate this. Not only is it giving me fuel for doing more with video, but I think it's really helping the listeners realize what is really possible. So, thank you for that. And will you share with the listeners, where they can find you, what you're doing, anything you've got going on you think they should know, please?
Absolutely. Yeah. So what keeps me busy right now, for the most part, is one-on-one coaching with this stuff. Although I do work with sales teams and marketing teams on these things. The best place to find me right now, honestly, is on LinkedIn. That's where I'm spending most of my time. So I would say find me on LinkedIn and let's connect there. And we'll go from there. I'd love to, it's about, again, relatable, right? Relationships. So let's connect and let's have a conversation, and I'd be happy to do that.
That's terrific. Thank you. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. I think you got some great information here that's actionable and doable. So let's get out there and let's see more of you out there in cyberspace. And I'd like to thank our sponsor, Audible.com. To get a free trial of Audible.com as well as a free audiobook, just go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth to sign up. As always, continue to prosper and be curious. And until we meet again on another episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, goodbye and good day.
Full send with the driver? Check. Piercing iron through the wind? Check. Low checker, high spinner, flop to a tight pin? Check, check, and check. No matter what shot you need to pull off, there's one ball that's better for them all. The all-new TP5 and 5X from TaylorMade. With a newly redesigned dimple pattern, engineered for more distance, more control around the green, and better stability in the wind, it's the hottest tour ball in golf. So no matter what shot you face, there's one ball that's better for all. The TP5 and 5X from TaylorMade.
Are you tired of seeing your teen or young adult struggle on a path that clearly isn't the right fit? Is your teenager confused about which direction to take after high school? The future of work is changing rapidly, and our kids need to know all of the options available after high school so they're empowered to make the choice that is best for them. In each episode, we explore the latest trends that are shaping the opportunities of today and tomorrow. I'm your host, Betsy Jewell, and this is the High School Hamster Wheel Podcast.